Yo, 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 what is going on, my beautiful brothers and sisters, fellow radiators of love? My name is Jamal Pope, aka Jay Phoenix, and this is going to be your astrology forecast for Friday, February 16th of 2024. Thank you so much for joining me in this video. Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful week so far. I know I missed yesterday of the sickness. Today I felt a little bit better. I probably don't sound like it, but that's just because I'm having a lot of drainage and my throat has been like terrible, but I got my hot tea here and stuff. So been doing what I can to soothe that throat, but I did feel like I was well enough to at least make this video. I don't know how long it'll go, but wanted to make this video. Also, big shout out to my wife. It's her 30th birthday today. So big shout out to the most beautiful, amazing person that I know. Um, you do so much for me, and I hopefully you watch this at least like the first little bit of it and stuff. But just wanted to give you a shout out, say a happy birthday to you, and I can't wait to spend many, many more birthdays with you, Burbies. But anyways, let's go ahead and hop into the astrological transits for today so we can see how you can be better prepared to navigate these celestial energies. I'm going to pull up that calendar. Now, yesterday I did miss some stuff. It was Mercury sextile in Chiron, and it was also enshrined to the North Node. So honestly, if I was gonna miss a day, that was the day to miss it. Just because sextiles, I mean, yeah, it's one of the more major aspects that we track, but at the same time, it's not that big of a deal, especially in this case. Um, and then of course like I said, Mercury sextile Chiron North Node, trying the South Node. I mean, this was just opportunities opening up for us to think more innovatively and to kind of perceive maybe our wounding and our path in a different light, and the training over to the South Node means that we can even harmonize with aspects of the past or past relationships and realize that, this gives us an opportunity to kind of look at things in a different light, to kind of reframe and reform our understanding of things. So that's what Thursday was all about. It was all about reforming and reshaping our understanding of how things are, not getting overly attached, if you will, to the traumas or the wounding or the hurt, but also to embrace, you know, to accept. I think accept is actually a better word here. To actually accept our lives, accept ourselves, accept the past, because just because you accept something doesn't necessarily mean that you agree with everything. You just acknowledge its existence, you acknowledge that it happened. So acceptance, I think, was really key with a day like Thursday, because like I said, sextiles usually are positive, but considering that it's Chiron on the North Node, it makes things very, very sensitive. So it may have been hard to accept how things have happened and how we have shaped our personalities based off of that, in the way that we act and stuff. This Mercury that sextiled it gave us an opportunity to revamp our understanding and revamp our look at things. And even the trine to the South Node, the positive thing with that, of course, is that we could even look at these past relationships and see how these relationships, whether they were positive or negative, how they have contributed to our overall growth. So now, of course, on Friday, we have the first quarter moon. And also, Venus is going to be moving into Aquarius. The moon will enter into Gemini. So that means that they're going to be enshrined to each other. And Mercury is going to square Uranus. So this is one of the more important days of the month. Actually, I highlighted it as mega important. So let's go ahead and hop into it. It's going to be funny. I said I don't know how long I'm going to make this video, and yet I have a mega important day right here. So let's go ahead and hop into the actual chart itself. So present, share screen, share, boom, 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 boom. All right, so here we are. We have this moon that's going to be finishing up here in Taurus today. We have it is in square to the sun to start off the day. So we have that first quarter square to the sun, which means that the moon is halfway lit up, right? And we also have Venus here, as you can see, that's getting ready to ingress into Aquarius today, which means that it begins its conjunction to Pluto. So we are getting the third transformative pass over Pluto, First it was Mercury, then it was Mars. Now we are going to get to Venus. Now, of course, I've been saying that Pluto is kind of doing like a major clearing and a major cleaning of any energy that goes past it. It's like you talk about like you think Virgo is a neat freak. Pluto right here is a even bigger neat freak. Pluto is clearing so much energy out when it comes to Mercury, Mars, and Venus, and even the Sun. Even though this happened in Capricorn, but it's clearing so much energy right now that it really is a blessing that we had the Moon in Taurus throughout the duration of this of these passes, if you will. Now you can see as we move this forward, once Venus hits 0 degrees and the moon is coming off of the square to the sun, the moon will still be in Taurus for the first little bit of the day. So it will move into Gemini later in the day and will actually make a trine over to Venus and Pluto. But we first get this energy right here. Now, as we move it forward, we'll see that by 2:55-ish Eastern Standard Time, we're going to see that moon actually begin to trine over to Venus and Pluto. And this is a harmonious aspect, but the weird thing about this is that we do have the ruler of Gemini, Mercury, which is coming into its square with Uranus. Uranus, of course, rules Aquarius, and that's where this major conjunction is happening between Venus and Pluto. And you can even argue to say Mars because it's a 3-degree orb. So that's kind of the weird, tricky part about this, is that learning how to perceive our world in a different way, learning how to perceive people in a different way. I think we have spent so much of the last 15 years paying attention to systems with Capricorn, systems and laws and regulations, that we forgot that those systems and laws and regulations would be nothing without the people behind them. We have been blaming the systems and the laws and stuff, and whether we should blame the people behind them is another thing. I think really what it comes down to is that we have to learn how to connect more with the people, with each other. And that's what this whole Aquarius energy is about. That's what the whole Pluto and Aquarius energy is going to be about. It's about how can we connect better to each other, not just the systems, not the rules and the regulations and stuff like that, but to each other, right? It's interesting because Capricorn is all about order, but there are two signs that come after it. Now, I know some people will like to think that, well, if we didn't have rules and regulations and laws, people will go crazy and nuts. Not necessarily. Not necessarily, but the world that we have crafted would suggest that that is the case. That while not everybody will go batshit crazy, there are some people that would go batshit crazy if there are no rules, laws, and regulations. In fact, we're already starting to see it. We're starting to see in some of these cities where people are going into these stores, these convenience stores and technology stores and Apple stores, and they're just going and robbing the place in broad daylight, and nobody can seem to do anything about it. So even though we have the laws, the rules, and the regulations, that doesn't stop people from committing acts of crime. That's why Aquarius comes after Capricorn, because it's about the people and connecting with the people and trying to figure out what's going on from that aspect. And then you get the Pisces, right? Pisces, of course, is the last sign of the zodiac. It rules spirituality, the unseen, but also rules prison, right? So that's the thing about this. It still rules prison. Why do you think with Capricorn, with the rules and the laws and regulations, and then based off of what someone may do, they have to go to trial, and they have to be, and there's going to be a jury of their peers, Aquarius, that will, pass judgment, based off of the evidence that they hear, which will determine whether or not someone will go to jail or not, right? So there is a built-in system to handle these sort of things. Now, whether or not you have a lot of rules and laws and regulations and stuff like that, maybe or maybe they're unjust, then we have to go back and figure out what do we believe about these things with Sagittarius. But so we are in Aquarius season, so it's really about getting down to the person and what makes people tick, what makes people the way that they are, right? So now that we have Venus, that's going to be coming on Pluto. Remember, Venus is a more feminine planet, is the way that we like to receive things in our life. So now, with it being with Pluto, how are we going to receive this new world, this new transformation that we're experiencing with Pluto that's going to be in Aquarius for the next 20 years? Yes, it will come back into Capricorn in September and then go back and then, go direct, and then it'll be there until like November or something like that, right? So, yes, Pluto will come back into Capricorn briefly, but it's brief. Most of the year, it's going to be in Aquarius. Last year, Pluto's in Aquarius for like a tiny little bit. This year, it's a lot more. And then after this year, it's going to be there for 20 years. So last year was like just the itsy bitsy sneak preview to it. This year, we kind of get a bit of an appetizer of it. And this appetizer, for many people, people are going to kind of take this and kind of determine how the next 20 years are going to look based off of this appetizer. Now, I want to caution people to not overreact to this appetizer, because the appetizer may be shit, but the main course could be good, or vice versa. You know what I'm saying? But to those who may see this appetizer as absolute shit, and then they're worried that the next 20 years is just going to be fucked, I would caution against that, because you never know. You've been to a restaurant where the appetizer was great, was like shit, like it just wasn't good, but then your main course was just phenomenal. It happens. Or maybe the appetizer, maybe they gave you the wrong appetizer, maybe it wasn't cooked very well, but it can be fixed. And I think that's really what this comes down to, is that Aquarius energy likes to fix things. It's masculine air, right? It's masculine fixed air. So Aquarius is a very innovative sign. They're always looking for solutions. That's the other thing about Aquarius that you got to think about, is that it's a very solution-oriented sign, which is why sometimes they don't let their emotions get in the way, because if they get too emotional about things, then it distracts them from being able to actually solve the problem. So Aquarius, they are quick to come up with the solution. They are pretty quick to act, but they do run it through the chambers. That's the one thing that you don't know about Aquarius, is that Aquarius will seem like they act pretty quickly, but they already have processed and computed all these different scenarios, and they do it at such a hyper pace. They do it so fast that most people, if they were to just be in the mind of an Aquarius for like 5 minutes, they'd probably short circuit. But Aquarius has this ability. Helps that Mercury is there too, right? So all of us are experiencing just a tiny bit of what it's like to think like an Aquarius right now. Now, Aquarius, this is their natural element, because they automatically do this shit. So since we are in a bit of a solution-oriented time, and we had to look for innovative ways to find solutions to these issues, the issues that maybe we were experiencing, maybe issues in our relationships, maybe issues with our finances and money, maybe issues with trying to know who we are, finding our purpose, and these sort of things, right? Remember, like I said, like we just went through a Mercury conjunct Pluto for the first time in Aquarius. Everyone alive. We just went through a Mars conjunct Pluto in Aquarius for the first time. Everyone alive. Now we're doing a Venus. No one has experienced this unless you are a fucking vampire. Unless you've been around for 240 years, you've never experienced this. We have never experienced the moon trine Pluto and Venus and Mars while the moon was in Gemini and those energies were in Aquarius. We have never experienced this. So you can see that even though that's a bit of a minor aspect because the moon moves so fast, it is fresh, it is new to us, it is novel. Even though this has technically happened before, no one alive has experienced it. So this is novel stuff. Now that the moon is in Gemini, this is going to give us an opportunity to kind of like, the moon in Gemini, I like to see it as like kind of like curious, happy-go-lucky kind of energy. It's kind of similar to the moon in Sag, but it's very curious. It usually brings about a bit of a light energy. So that's kind of the nice thing about this. We can, this is a day where we can kind of make light of things, make fun of things, kind of look at things from a little bit more of a comedic lens. The fact that Pluto is here, it's humor may get a little bit dark today. The humor may be a little bit dark with this moon in Gemini, I'm not gonna lie. But we have to be able to look at life through the lens of through the lens of a comedian, kind of. You know, not a comedian that just suppresses the way that they feel, but a comedian that's honest, that spreads the truth, but does so in a way that connects with other people. They say things that other people aren't willing to say, but in such a way that it kind of lowers their guard a bit. It kind of breaks through those boundaries a bit, and they don't feel so walled up. That's the other thing about Pluto. Pluto rules boundaries. In Aquarius, that is the middle of winter. So a lot of people are going to be having their super icy walls, and Pluto is Scorpio already has icy walls. People are going to have these walls start to melt because Pluto, like I said, it's going to transform these walls, but people are going to start to have them melt, right? That's the thing about this, right? So with this moon as an trine to it, it gives us an opportunity to have us look at these things through a bit of like a creative, comedic kind of lens, and to kind of, just make sense of things from like a fun aspect, if you will. It's sort of like a why so serious kind of moment. You know what I'm saying? Why so serious? I think we can do that. We can get so fucking serious in the middle of the night, right? Leading up to all this. I'm sitting in bed dealing with all this shit, right? And there was a moment there where I started to judge myself. I'm 32, I don't exactly have the amount of money in the bank that I want. I don't have a house. We don't have kids, So I started thinking about all the things I don't have. And I started to get pretty upset and depressed about it because I'm seeing how fast time is moving. Before I know it, I'll be 33. And I'm like, I thought about this dream that I have, this vision that I have of having like my own place and everything like that. And it's nice, it's beautiful. And me sitting on the porch with my dad, enjoying, I don't know, enjoying something, probably a glass of wine or something like that. And I'm like, if I really want that to manifest, I gotta do something like right now, And I started like getting down on myself about it. That feeling probably lasted about 30 minutes or so. I took to my phone and I put on something. I think it was like Alan Watts or something like that, and completely changed the mood because he was essentially talking about, why so serious? Like why do we put all these things on ourselves? Why can't we just accept ourselves for the way that we are? And different things like that. But the way that he kind of phrased everything, it took me out of that place of lack and put me to a place of abundance. That is the beauty of a moon in Gemini because it can help us to do that. It can help to take us out of the lack and to put us in a place of abundance. Because remember, this moon is going to trine Mercury. It will trine the sun as the sun's going into Pisces as well. So, we have some beautiful energy here. We really do. And, like I said, towards the end of the day, we're going to see Mercury hit that 19th degree, and it's going to begin its begin its square over to Uranus. So that's the interesting thing about this. And this isn't a mutual reception either, because Uranus would prefer to be in Aquarius, but Mercury is kind of neutral in Taurus. So it's not a mutual reception. But this square is going to put a little bit more pressure on things too for us to think a little bit more innovatively, of course. But Uranus and Taurus is like, we have to deal with the randomness of life. We have to deal with the randomness of our physical reality kind of shifting. We have to deal with, maybe weird storms that come up, like thunderstorms, different things like that. We have to deal with the randomness of even money. That's the thing. Taurus is fixed Earth, but there's like no guarantees that you will make the same amount of money for 30, 40 years, even though you may get like a stable job and they may pay you a certain amount and they may promise you different things, but there's no guarantee that you'll make that money. There's no guarantee that that job will stay there. You may end up having to move. A bunch of other circumstances may happen. You may find the love of your life and turns out that they're from Belgium and then you want to move to Belgium. So that's the thing about this. We have to deal with the randomness of life, and that these structures that we have put in place, especially when it comes to value and money and finances, are subject to change. They're subject to change. They're subject to alter. And we have to learn how to be okay with that. We have to learn how to accept that and embrace the change. That's really what this Mercury square Uranus is all about here. And like I said, Venus and Pluto, they're getting closer and closer together. We're learning how do we receive, this higher cosmic energy that is Aquarius? How do we receive other people? You know what I'm saying? How do we receive that? This could even be, how do we receive the water from the water bearer? And that whole thing is being transformed. How do we receive the water from the water bearer? How do we receive the praise from the people? How do we receive the things that people give us out of the kindness of their hearts? It's going to forever transform that aspect too. Are we just going to constantly be holding out our hands even after we've been given so much? Or are we going to appreciate what we already have and find value in that? But it can be like someone can give you something, and we can still be entitled and selfish and be like, yo, I want more, I want more. How do we know that that water bearer is always going to be there? I mean, you can't get rid of Aquarius. I'm saying, like, metaphorically, we all have different water bearers that come into our life that will give us stuff, seemingly void of emotion, but just because it's the right thing to do. But how many times have we taken that for granted? How many times have we taken for granted the people that have come into our lives as a water bearer, and they would give, and they would give, and they would give, and they would give, and then suddenly they're not there anymore? We take that for granted. So a transit like this is going to forever transform the way that we even receive the water from the water bearer, right? So, yeah, let's go ahead and hop into the cards. Because I feel like that's actually a good place to really pause. I'll take a sip of my tea. Oof. Man, I'm struggling. I probably sound like I'm struggling too, but honestly, today's energies were too important to not get them. So, too important of a day to not make a video for it. So, all right, let's see what we got today. Well, I have the Wheel of Fortune in reverse. Feels like we could be running in circles and not actually getting anywhere. That's really what the Wheel of Fortune is all about. Running in circles and feeling like we're not actually getting anywhere. Oh, I got two cards here that came at the same time. I got the Ace of Wands in reverse and the Page of Cups in reverse. Whenever I see a bunch of cards that are reverse, it means that you can read them both ways, right? It means that you can read them both ways. It's just an altering of your perception. So if we're feeling like we're running around in circles, right? We have to ask ourselves, A, what are we creating with that Ace of Wands there? How are we inspiring ourselves and motivating ourselves? Do we feel motivated? And then B, with that Page of Cups right there in reverse, where are our emotions when it comes to this energy? We don't want to be void of emotion right now. But I think this is about, are we being a bit emotionally immature, right? Are we throwing a tantrum? Remember, the Page of Cups, this is a student, this is an initiate. So this is someone who's learning the power of their emotions. So do we know the power of our emotions right now? Are we following the emotional guidance system? And that's a really important thing too, right? Are we embracing all the emotions that we are experiencing? But realize that emotions are meant to flow and they're not meant to just be stuck. Maybe when we step into our power and realize that our emotions are very powerful, and once we start to emotionally mature a little bit, this Wheel of Fortune will start to move and turn in a positive direction. Now, the color card for the day I have is Ruby. Rejuvenate your body. I could definitely use some rejuvenation in my body right now. this could just simply speak to taking care of your body, eating good food, drinking plenty of water, going for an exercise, going out into the sun if you can do so. These are excellent ways to just rejuvenate your body. And I think if you have stuck energy, this is a time to, even like meditation could be good, a good way to just rejuvenate the body and get the energy flowing. Because if the wheel of fortune is reversed, it means that we're going around in circles or we just feel like our fortune is stuck. So how do we move it? Well, let's start on the physical. Move the body, rejuvenate it. And the physical will affect the mental, will affect the emotional, will affect the spiritual. It goes both ways. So that is what I have for you guys. This astrology forecast, February 16th. I hope that you all enjoyed it. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. I definitely appreciate it. If you'd like to have a personal reading with me, beloved, you can follow the link in the description below to my website, jphoenix.com. And as always, y'all take care. Stay blessed. Have a wonderful Friday. Happy birthday, Burbies. I love you. Y'all take care. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.